The rain didn't fall gently that night. It came down hard, sharp, like it had somewhere urgent to be. It soaked the cracked streets of the old district, filled broken gutters, turned alleyways into narrow rivers of reflected light. The city felt hollow after midnight. Shops shuttered, windows dark, the air humming with the low buzz of distant traffic and flickering street lamps that struggled to stay awake. A little girl ran through it anyway. Her shoes were already ruined. Canvas torn at the sides, soles thin enough to feel every stone beneath her feet. Each step splashed water up her legs, soaking the hem of her oversized jacket. The hood kept slipping over her eyes, but she didn't stop to fix it. She couldn't. "Papa!" she shouted again, her voice swallowed by rain. "Papa, wait!" Her father slowed, turning just enough to see her before continuing down the alley. His shoulders were hunched, jacket pulled tight, head lowered like a man trying to disappear into the storm. He didn't like this part of town after dark. Too quiet, too forgotten. But the shortcut saved 10 minutes. And 10 minutes mattered when the last bus had already left. They were almost through when it happened. A sound, metal grinding against stone. Then a sharp, hollow crash that echoed between brick walls like a gunshot. The man screamed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was the kind of scream that came from deep inside, ripped out of someone who didn't have time to be brave. The girl froze. Her father spun around. "Lily, stay back." But Lily was already moving. She was small for 8 years old, all elbows and knees, eyes too big for her face. Rain clung to her lashes as she peered past her father, toward the far end of the alley where shadows tangled together. "Someone's hurt," she whispered. Adam Hale felt it then, the shift, that tightening in the chest that came before instinct took over. He had felt it before, long ago, in a life he no longer talked about. Another sound followed. A wet cough. Slow. Painful. Adam handed Lily the bag he'd been carrying. "Don't move." He stepped forward. The alley narrowed where the old service gates stood. Rusted iron barriers meant to block delivery trucks decades ago, now barely holding themselves upright. One of them had collapsed, its hinges torn loose, the heavy frame lying at an angle against the ground. Beneath it, a man was trapped. His leg was pinned, bent wrong. Blood seeped from a cut near his temple, washing pink in the rain. His face was pale, lips trembling as he tried to breathe through the pain. Adam crouched beside him instantly. "Hey," he said, keeping his voice calm. "I'm here." The man's eyes fluttered open. They were unfocused, dazed. "I can't move," he rasped. "I know. You don't have to." Adam tested the weight of the gate with one hand. It barely shifted. Too heavy. Adam scanned the alley. Empty. No cars. No open doors. No help. "Lily," he called over his shoulder. She was standing where he'd left her, hands clenched around the bag, eyes wide. "Come here," he said. Slowly. She obeyed, stepping carefully around the puddles, stopping beside him. Her gaze dropped to the man, then to the blood, then snapped back to her father. "He's hurt," she said, stating the obvious like she was afraid the words might vanish. "Yes," Adam said. "We need help." Lily's hands went to her pockets automatically. She pulled out her phone, a small old device with a cracked screen, held together by a strip of clear tape across the back. Adam hadn't even realized she'd brought it. "Call the police," he said. Her fingers shook as she pressed the screen. Took 3 tries before the call went through. "Emergency services," a calm voice answered. "What's your emergency?" Lily swallowed. "There's a man," she said, trying to sound steady. "He's stuck. Something fell on him. My dad is trying to help, but—" Her voice cracked. Adam glanced at her. "You're doing great," he said quietly. The operator asked questions. Location, condition, injuries. Lily answered the ones she could. When she didn't know, she looked to her father. Adam gave short, clear responses without breaking eye contact with the trapped man. "Sir," Adam said softly, "stay awake. What's your name?" The man tried to focus. "Daniel," he murmured. "Okay, Daniel. I'm Adam. We're going to get you out of here." Adam wedged himself under the edge of the gate again, bracing his shoulder against cold metal. He pushed. Pain shot through his arm. His feet slipped on wet ground. The gate didn't move. "Papa," Lily whispered. Adam repositioned, gritted his teeth, and tried again. Nothing. He exhaled slowly. Thought. Calculated. "Daniel," he said. "On 3, I need you to shift your weight back if you can. Just a little." The man nodded weakly. 1, Adam said. Rain drummed louder against the iron. 2. Adam pushed with everything he had. 3. The gate shifted, just enough to free the man's leg by a few inches. Daniel screamed. Adam held it, muscles screaming, breath trapped in his chest. "Now!" he shouted. No one came. Lily dropped the phone. It splashed into a puddle but stayed connected. She rushed forward, small hands grabbing at the gate, pushing uselessly against the metal. "I'm helping," she said desperately. "I'm helping." Adam's arms shook violently now, his vision blurred. Then footsteps. A man appeared at the mouth of the alley, umbrella tilted back, eyes wide. "What's going on?" "Help me lift," Adam shouted. The man hesitated for half a second, then dropped the umbrella and ran forward. He grabbed the gate. Together, they lifted just enough. Adam kicked the gate aside and dragged Daniel clear of it, collapsing to the ground as soon as the weight was gone. The rain didn't stop. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Lily ran to her father, wrapping her arms around his neck, crying into his shoulder. "You did it," she sobbed. "You did it." Adam held her with one arm, the other pressed into the ground, chest heaving. Daniel lay on his back, gasping, alive. Across the street, unnoticed by any of them, a car had slowed to a stop. A young man leaned out of the passenger window, phone raised. The red recording light blinked. By the time police lights cut through the rain, the video had already begun its silent journey into the world. An officer approached Adam, asking questions, checking injuries. Another knelt beside Daniel. Lily watched everything with wide, exhausted eyes. As Adam stood, pain radiating through his shoulder, his sleeve slipped back, just enough to reveal a silver wristwatch beneath the torn fabric. The officer noticed. His expression changed. "Sir," he said carefully, "can you tell me where you got that watch?" Adam froze. Rain slid down his face like tears he hadn't earned. Before he could answer, Lily tugged at his hand. "Papa," she whispered, her voice small but steady. "Is the man going to be okay?" Adam looked down at her. "Yes," he said softly. "Because you made the call." She nodded, proud through her tears. Neither of them knew yet that this night, this alley, this rain, this broken gate, would follow them into the morning. They didn't know their quiet life had already cracked open. They didn't know the world was about to learn a truth Adam had spent years burying. And they certainly didn't know that by sunrise, everyone would be asking the same question. Who was this man? Really? Adam Hale did not look like a man who once commanded rooms. He stood at the sink of their small apartment before dawn, rubbing dried blood from beneath his fingernails while the city outside exhaled into early morning. The water ran cold. The mirror above the sink was cracked along one edge, splitting his reflection into two versions of the same tired face. One man stared back at him now, unshaven, eyes ringed with fatigue, shoulders permanently bent as if bracing for impact. The other man, no, that man no longer existed. Adam shut off the tap and dried his hands on a fraying towel. From the corner of the room came the soft, rhythmic breathing of his daughter. Lily slept curled on her side, one arm wrapped around a threadbare stuffed rabbit missing an eye. Her hair spilled across the pillow in dark waves, damp at the ends from the rain that still clung to her jacket when they'd returned home. Adam watched her for a long moment. She had not cried herself to sleep, not really. She had simply run out of questions that frightened him more than tears ever could. He sat on the edge of the bed, careful not to wake her, and gently brushed her hair away from her face. Her brow twitched, lips parting slightly, as if she were still speaking to the world even in sleep. "She's okay," he whispered to himself. It was something he'd learned to say often. Adam's days followed a rhythm that rarely changed. Up before sunrise. Cheap coffee brewed too weak. A folded list of maintenance tasks slipped into his pocket. He worked under contract for a property management company that handled the buildings no one wanted anymore. Old warehouses converted into apartments, stairwells that smelled of mildew and neglect, broken locks that tenants complained about but never got fixed quickly enough. Adam fixed them anyway. He had a way with broken things. He listened when people talked. He didn't interrupt. He didn't judge. He did the job, cleaned up after himself, and left without expecting thanks. People trusted him because he never asked for anything. Lily often waited nearby while he worked, sitting on overturned buckets, reading old library books, or sketching quietly with a stubby pencil she sharpened too often. When she was younger, he used to apologize. "I'm sorry it's boring," he'd say. She'd shake her head. "It's not boring. I like watching you fix things." That sentence had stayed with him. Their apartment sat above a shuttered tailor shop whose faded sign still read a lamb's fine stitching, letters peeling like dried leaves. The stairwell smelled of dust and old fabric. The railing was loose, and Adam tightened it once a month out of habit. Inside, the apartment was small but orderly. One bed, one table, two chairs that didn't quite match, a narrow kitchenette with a stove that only worked if you turned the knob just right. They had learned to make do. Adam kept his few personal items tucked away in a single drawer. Documents he rarely opened, photographs he never looked at, and one object wrapped carefully in soft cloth. The silver wristwatch. It was heavy for its size. Solid. Well-made. The kind of watch people noticed without knowing why. The glass was cracked across the face, frozen at a time that no longer mattered. Adam didn't wear it often. Only on days when he felt unsteady. Only when he needed to remember something important. He told himself it was just a watch. He knew it wasn't. Lily woke slowly that morning, rubbing her eyes and sitting up in bed with a yawn that stretched her small body into a question mark. "Papa?" she said. "I'm here." She looked at him carefully, studying his face like she was trying to memorize it. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "A little sore," he admitted. "But I'll live." She nodded, satisfied. Then, softly, "Did I do the right thing?" Adam paused. "Yes," he said firmly. "You did exactly the right thing." She looked relieved but also confused. "Even if people get mad?" she asked. Adam's chest tightened. "Especially then," he said. On the way to school, Lily walked more slowly than usual. She kicked pebbles, stopped to watch water drip from fire escapes, stared at strangers a beat too long. At the corner, a small group of people stood gathered around a phone. Adam heard his own voice echo faintly from the screen. He turned Lily away before she could see. At school, the teacher smiled too widely. "Everything okay at home?" she asked. "Yes," Adam said. It was the truth, just not the whole one. There had been a time, long before Lily, when Adam Hale had believed in momentum, in growth, in expansion, in building something that would last. He had come from nothing himself, grew up in cramped apartments, learned early that money wasn't about comfort, it was about control, about not being afraid. By 35, he had built a company from the ground up. Infrastructure, development, projects that changed skylines. By 40, his name appeared in magazines. By 42, he walked away, not because he failed, because he couldn't live with the cost anymore. The decision that ended it all wasn't dramatic. No scandal, no arrest, just a choice to fund a project no one believed in. Emergency housing, disaster response infrastructure, something unprofitable, something human. The board voted against him. Adam resigned that night. He sold his shares quietly, donated most of the money anonymously, changed his name, left the city that knew him. The watch had been a gift from a partner who understood. "Time is only valuable if you choose how to spend it," the man had said. Adam had chosen Lily. Lily never asked why they didn't have more. She never asked why her father flinched when certain names appeared on television. She never asked why the watch stayed hidden. Instead, she asked questions like, "Do you think strangers feel lonely too? Why do people throw things away that still work? Do heroes know they're heroes?" Adam answered honestly when he could. When he couldn't, he listened. That evening, Lily pulled a folded piece of paper from her backpack. "I drew something," she said. It was a picture of the alley, the gate, the rain, a stick figure lifting something heavy while a smaller stick figure held a phone. Above it, she had written in uneven letters, "Helping is brave." Adam stared at it for a long time. Then he folded it carefully and placed it beside the watch in the drawer. Two symbols of the same truth. As night fell, sirens echoed again somewhere far away. Adam sat on the edge of the bed, Lily's head resting against his arm. "Papa," she said sleepily, "are you a hero?" Adam smiled sadly. "No," he said. "I'm just your dad." She yawned. "That's better." Outside, the city continued to talk. Inside, a man who had spent years hiding from his past felt it pressing closer. Quietly, patiently. Waiting. The city did not slow down after the rain. It only pretended to. By late afternoon, the streets had dried just enough to hide what the storm had left behind. Oil slicks clung to asphalt. Trash pressed itself into gutters. The old district hummed with tired life. Delivery trucks groaning, metal shutters rattling, voices rising and falling in half-finished conversations. Adam finished his last job early. A broken stairwell light. 4th floor. Flickering like a warning no one listened to anymore. He packed his tools with methodical care, fingers moving on muscle memory alone. His shoulder still ached from the night before. A deep, dull pain that reminded him of what his body had given and what it could no longer afford to lose. As he stepped outside, his phone buzzed. An unknown number. He ignored it. Then it buzzed again. And again. Adam frowned and answered. "Mr. Hale?" A man's voice said. Clipped, professional. "This is Officer Raymond, City Police. We need to ask you a few questions regarding last night's incident." Adam closed his eyes briefly. "Yes," he said. "Of course." The police station smelled like disinfectant and old paper. Adam sat on a hard plastic chair while Lily colored quietly beside him, legs swinging beneath the table. An officer offered her juice in a small cardboard box. She accepted politely. Adam answered questions calmly. "Where were you going? Why did you stop? Did you know the injured man?" "No," Adam said. "I just heard him." Officer Raymond scribbled notes. "Several witnesses recorded the incident," he said. "You're aware of that?" Adam nodded. "I didn't ask them to," he said. "No," the officer agreed. "You didn't." Something in his tone suggested there was more. They were released after an hour. Nothing illegal. Nothing wrong. Just noticed. By evening, the first clip surfaced online. It was shaky, poorly lit, rain streaking across the lens. But it was clear enough. A man lifting a collapsed gate. A child's voice crying into a phone. A body dragged free at the last second. The caption read, "Stranger risks everything to save trapped man." Within hours, it was everywhere. Adam didn't see it at first. He and Lily were home, eating soup from chipped bowls. Lily talked about school. Adam nodded, listened, responded. The world knocked anyway. A loud knock at the door. Sharp. Impatient. Adam froze. "Papa?" Lily asked softly. "I've got it," he said. When he opened the door, two people stood there. A woman holding a microphone. A man with a camera already rolling. "Mr. Hale," the woman said, smiling like she already knew him. "We just want a few words." Adam stepped outside and closed the door behind him. "I'm not interested," he said calmly. "You saved a man's life," she pressed. "People deserve to hear your story." Adam met her gaze. He deserved help. That's all. The cameraman zoomed in anyway. Adam turned and walked back inside. The clip aired that night. Not the rescue. The refusal. The comments split instantly. "Real hero. Why so secretive? Something off about this guy." Adam turned off the television. 2 days later, it happened again. Different place. Different hour. Same instinct. Adam and Lily were walking home through a side street when they heard shouting. A crowd had formed near a closed convenience store. A man lay slumped against the wall, clutching his chest, gasping for air. Panic rippled outward. "Call an ambulance," someone shouted. No signal. People stepped back, filmed, waited. Adam moved forward. "Lily," he said firmly, "stand back." She nodded, already pulling out the phone. Adam knelt beside the man, assessed quickly. Breathing shallow, skin clammy, fear in his eyes. "Sir," Adam said, steady. "Look at me. Breathe with me." He loosened the man's collar, positioned him carefully, spoke calmly, clearly, like someone who had done this before. Because he had. Not like this, but close enough. Sirens arrived minutes later. Again phones were raised. Again, someone whispered his name. By morning, the narrative had changed. The reluctant hero. Is this man chasing attention? Why is he always there? Adam stopped answering calls. Stopped leaving the apartment unless he had to. Lily noticed. "You're quieter," she said one night. "I'm tired," he replied. She studied him. "Is it bad to help people?" "No," Adam said. "It's complicated." She frowned. "That doesn't sound fair." He smiled faintly. "It rarely is. The real incident, the one that broke the quiet, came on a Sunday. The city hosted a charity street fair downtown. Music, booths, crowds. Adam didn't want to go. Lily begged. "Please," she said, "just for a little while." They went. Laughter echoed between buildings. Children ran with balloons. Vendors shouted over one another. For a moment the world felt normal again. Then the scaffolding fell. It wasn't dramatic at first. Just a metallic groan. Then screaming. A temporary structure, poorly secured, collapsed near the main stage. People scattered. A section of metal pinned a young volunteer to the ground. Chaos erupted. Security shouted. Sirens wailed in the distance. Adam dropped everything. "Lily, stay here," he said. She grabbed his hand. "Be careful." Adam ran. The volunteer was conscious but trapped. Bleeding. Crying. The metal beam was unstable. Every movement sent vibrations through the structure. Adam assessed quickly. Too many people. Too much panic. "Clear the area," he shouted. "Give us space." Someone recognized him. "It's that guy," a voice said. "From the video." Cameras rose like reflexes. Adam ignored them. He braced the beam. Spoke calmly to the volunteer. Directed others where to stand, where not to. When the structure shifted, Adam took the weight without thinking. Pain exploded through his shoulder. He didn't let go. The volunteer was freed seconds later. Adam collapsed. This time, the cameras caught everything. The strain, the pain, the watch slipping fully into view as his sleeve tore. A close-up zoomed in. Someone whispered, "That watch." By nightfall, the video had millions of views. By morning, questions were everywhere. Not about the rescues. About the man. Who was he? Why did he move like that? Why did he know what to do? Why did that watch look so familiar? Adam sat at the kitchen table, head in his hands, Lily beside him. "Papa," she said gently, "are you in trouble?" Adam looked at her. "No," he said, "but we might be noticed." She smiled. "That's okay. You noticed them first." Adam closed his eyes. Outside, the city had stopped pretending. It was watching now. The first headline appeared before sunrise. Adam saw it by accident, reflected faintly in the dark screen of his phone as he reached to turn off the alarm. He hadn't even opened the app. The words were there anyway, bleeding through the glass like ink in water. Who is the reluctant hero? He didn't click it. He didn't need to. The questions had already begun to knock. By mid-morning, the city felt louder than usual. Not in sound, but in attention. Adam noticed it in the way people looked twice. In the way conversations paused when he entered a room. In the way silence followed him like a shadow. At the maintenance office, his supervisor stood awkwardly behind the counter. Hands clasped, eyes apologetic. "Adam," he said, clearing his throat, "you've been in the news." Adam nodded. I didn't want that. I know, the man said quickly. But the company, well, the clients. I understand, Adam said. He didn't, not really. But he understood enough. The supervisor slid an envelope across the counter. Temporary suspension. Until things settle. Adam picked it up, thanked him, left. Outside, the sun shone too brightly for a day like this. At school, Lily felt it first. Children whispered. Teachers smiled too much. A classmate asked if her dad was famous. She didn't know how to answer. He just helps people, she said. Someone laughed. That's what they all say. Lily went quiet after that. When Adam picked her up, she climbed into his arms without a word and held on longer than usual. That night, she asked, "Did we do something wrong?" Adam shook his head. "No." "Then why do they look at us like that?" He didn't answer right away. "Sometimes," he said carefully, "people don't know what to do with quiet things." The videos multiplied. Slow-motion edits. Dramatic music. Freeze frames zoomed in on Adam's face, his hands, the watch. Speculation filled the gaps. Former military? Staged rescues? Why always him? Someone dug up old business articles. A blurry photo from years ago surfaced. Adam younger, sharper, standing beside men in suits. The caption read, "Is this him?" Adam stopped sleeping. He lay awake listening to Lily breathe, counting the seconds between sirens, wondering which version of himself the world would decide to believe. The knock came again. This time it wasn't reporters. It was a woman in a tailored coat, badge clipped neatly at her side. "Mr. Hale," she said, "I'm with the city's Office of Public Safety. We'd like to ask you some questions." Inside, Lily sat at the table, coloring silently. The woman spoke kindly, professionally. "You've been involved in multiple incidents requiring emergency response," she said. "We need to understand why." "Because I was there," Adam said simply. She studied him. "And because you knew what to do." Adam didn't reply. She glanced at the watch on his wrist. "That watch has been identified," she added gently. Adam's jaw tightened. "Identified as what?" he asked. The woman paused. "As something that belonged to someone else once. When she left, the apartment felt smaller." Lily looked up from her coloring. "Are we in trouble now?" "No," Adam said again. But this time he wasn't sure. The internet turned sharper. Praise curdled into suspicion. A commentator accused him of exploiting tragedy. Another suggested he was hiding something dangerous. A third demanded he come clean. Adam's name trended. So did Lily's school. Adam pulled her out for a few days. Told her it was a break. They stayed inside. Windows shut. Curtains drawn. Lily tried to be brave. She drew pictures. Read aloud. Told jokes. Adam smiled when he could. At night, he took the watch from the drawer and turned it over in his hands, feeling the weight of time press against his palm. The breaking point came quietly. A local talk show aired a segment titled, "Hero or Hoax?" They played clips, slowed them down, paused at moments that looked suspicious when stripped of context. Panel debated his motives. One man laughed. "Nobody does this much good without wanting something." Adam turned off the TV. Lily was watching him, eyes dark and serious. "Papa," she said, "do you want something?" Adam swallowed. "I want you safe." She nodded. "Then it's okay." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tighter than usual. That night, Adam made a decision. He packed a bag. Just essentials. Lily noticed. "Are we going somewhere?" "For a little while," he said. "Why?" He hesitated. "Because sometimes the best way to protect something is to step back." She frowned but nodded. They left before dawn. The city noticed their absence. Questions intensified. Where had he gone? Why disappear now? Speculation grew louder without him there to quiet it. And in his silence, the world filled the gaps. Miles away, in a quiet office overlooking the river, a man watched the footage again. He paused at the moment the watch came into view. His breath caught. "That's impossible," he whispered. He reached for the phone. Adam and Lily stayed with an old friend in a small town where no one recognized them, where mornings were slow, where the air smelled like pine instead of exhaust. Lily laughed again. Adam slept for the first time in weeks. But peace did not last. A letter arrived. Official. Stamped. Request for statement. Adam stared at it for a long time. Lily stood beside him. "Do we have to go back?" she asked. Adam looked down at her. "Yes," he said softly. "Because running doesn't fix what's broken." She took his hand. "Then I'll go with you." As they boarded the bus back to the city, Adam felt the weight of the watch against his wrist, heavier than ever. The fallout had taken everything he worked to keep small. His job, his anonymity, his quiet. But it hadn't taken the one thing that mattered. Not yet. And somewhere in the city they were returning to, the truth was already moving, slowly, deliberately, toward the surface. The city looked different when Adam returned. Not louder, not brighter, sharper. Every surface seemed to reflect attention. Glass windows like watching eyes, passing cars slowing just a fraction too long, people glancing up from their phones with expressions that hovered somewhere between curiosity and accusation. Adam held Lily's hand as they stepped off the bus. "Stay close," he said gently. She nodded, gripping his fingers tighter than usual. The watch rested heavy against his wrist, its cracked face catching the morning light. The building they were taken to was not a police station. That surprised him. It was older, quieter, stone walls worn smooth by time rather than stress. The kind of place where decisions were made slowly and carefully. A uniformed officer led them down a corridor lined with framed photographs. Adam recognized some of the faces immediately. He stopped walking. Lily noticed. "Papa." "Just memories," he said. They were ushered into a modest conference room. No cameras, no reporters, just a long wooden table and 3 people waiting. A senior police official, a woman in a dark blazer, badge clipped at her belt, and a man standing by the window, hands clasped behind his back. The man turned. Adam felt the air leave his lungs. "Daniel," he said quietly. The man he had pulled from beneath the gate nodded slowly. He looked healthier now, stronger, but his eyes carried something heavy, recognition, gratitude, and something else Adam couldn't quite name. "I hoped it was you," Daniel said. Lily looked between them, confused. The senior officer gestured for everyone to sit. "Mr. Hale," he began, voice calm but firm. "Thank you for coming back voluntarily." Adam inclined his head. "We've spent the last several days verifying information," the officer continued, "about the incidents, about you, and about this." He nodded toward Adam's wrist. "The watch." Adam exhaled slowly. "It was given to me," he said. "A long time ago." Daniel stepped forward. "It was custom-made," he said quietly. "There are only 3 like it in the world." Lily's eyes widened. Daniel met her gaze and smiled gently. "Your father saved my life," he said. "Twice, if we're being honest." She nodded solemnly, like this confirmed something she already knew. The woman in the blazer opened a folder. "Adam Hale," she said, reading from a document. "Founder and former CEO of Hale Infrastructure Group. Net worth at its peak. Estimated in the hundreds of millions." Silence filled the room. Lily looked up sharply. "Papa?" she whispered. Adam closed his eyes. "Yes," he said softly. "That's me." The words felt strange in his mouth, like speaking a name he'd buried. The officer continued. "You resigned abruptly 11 years ago, liquidated your holdings, donated the majority of your wealth anonymously to disaster relief, housing initiatives, and emergency response infrastructure." He paused. "Projects that, incidentally, saved thousands of lives." Adam said nothing. The room absorbed that truth quietly. Daniel cleared his throat. "I was one of the board members," he said. "One of the ones who voted against you." Adam looked at him. "I know," Adam said. Daniel's shoulders sagged. "When the gate fell, when you lifted it, I recognized the watch immediately, but I didn't want to believe it." He swallowed. "I owe you more than my life," Daniel said. I owe you the truth. The revelation did not explode outward. It moved slowly, carefully. The city released a statement that afternoon. No hype, no drama, just facts. A press conference followed, not led by Adam, but by the police chief and a respected investigative journalist who had spent days verifying every detail. The narrative shifted in real time. Screens filled with timelines. Donations traced back to Shell foundations. Projects connected. Faces changed. So did voices. At home, Lily watched the broadcast sitting cross-legged on the floor. That's my dad, she thought. Not the man on the screen, but the one who packed her lunch, who tied her shoes, who listened when she spoke. Adam sat beside her, eyes fixed on the floor. I didn't want you to find out like this, he said quietly. She leaned against him. I don't care about the money, she said. I care that you're kind. He smiled then, really smiled, for the first time in weeks. The questions came anyway. Why leave it all behind? Why hide? Why live the way he did? Adam answered only once. In a written statement. I did not leave because I failed. It read. I left because success without conscience felt like failure to me. I did not hide to escape responsibility. I hid to live it. The statement went viral. Not because it was dramatic. Because it was true. The world softened. Commentators apologized. Articles were rewritten. Words like hoax disappeared, replaced with humility and quiet courage. The same people who doubted him now praised him. Adam didn't read any of it. He walked Lily to school again. Parents nodded respectfully. Teachers smiled sincerely this time. Lily stood taller. One afternoon, they were invited to a small ceremony. Adam almost declined. Lily squeezed his hand. You should go, she said. They're saying thank you. The hall was modest. No red carpet. No flashing lights. The mayor spoke briefly. So did the police chief. Then Daniel stepped forward. He held up the watch. This, he said, is not a symbol of wealth. It is a symbol of time, given back to others when it mattered most. He returned it to Adam. Adam accepted it with steady hands. Lily clapped the loudest. Later that evening, as they walked home beneath streetlights that no longer flickered, Lily looked up. Papa, she said, are you still poor? Adam laughed softly. In money? No. In people? She asked. He shook his head. I'm very rich there. She smiled. The truth had come out. Not as an explosion, but as a release. The city exhaled. And for the first time in years, Adam Hale felt like he was allowed to breathe with it. The city did not crown Adam Hale a hero. Not really. There were no statues. No streets renamed. No parades or permanent applause. The world moved on the way it always did. Quickly, impatiently, hungry for the next story. And that was exactly how Adam wanted it. The morning after the last press conference, he woke before dawn out of habit. The apartment was quiet, washed in pale blue light filtering through thin curtains. For a moment, he lay still, listening to Lily's breathing, letting the simple fact of peace settle into his bones. No sirens, no knocking, no voices arguing over who he was supposed to be, just morning. He rose carefully, joints stiff, shoulders still healing, and brewed coffee the same way he always had. Too weak, a little bitter. The routine grounded him, reminded him that the world did not reset just because truth had finally spoken. On the table sat the watch, repaired. The crack in the glass had been preserved, not replaced. The technician had asked if Adam wanted it polished, restored to its original perfection. Adam had shaken his head. Leave the mark, he'd said. It's part of the story. Now the watch ticked softly, a steady sound that filled the room like a heartbeat. Time had returned. Opportunities arrived in waves. Formal letters, invitations, requests. Boards wanted him back. Corporations offered consulting roles. Speaking engagements promised large honorariums. A publishing house reached out about a memoir. Adam read each message carefully, then declined almost all of them. Not out of bitterness, out of clarity. He had not spent a decade rebuilding his life quietly just to trade one kind of noise for another. Instead, he made one call. To a city official he barely remembered meeting years ago. "I don't want a title," Adam said. "I want to fix things that keep breaking." The official paused. "What kind of things?" "Housing," Adam said. "Emergency systems. The places people fall through when no one's looking." Silence. Then, "We could use someone like you." Adam smiled faintly. "No," he said. "You could use a system that works even without me." The role they created for him had no office with glass walls. No press release. No spotlight. It was advisory, operational, and deeply unglamorous. Adam accepted. He worked out of borrowed spaces, visited construction sites, sat in community halls with folding chairs and coffee in styrofoam cups, listened to people who had never been asked what they needed before. He didn't introduce himself by his past. He introduced himself by what he could do. Lily sometimes came with him, sitting quietly in the back, sketching buildings and people, listening. On one site visit, she tugged his sleeve. "You look like you're supposed to be here," she whispered. Adam swallowed. "So do you," he replied. Their life changed, but not dramatically. They moved, eventually, to a slightly larger apartment closer to Lily's school. It had 2 rooms this time. A small balcony where Lily planted herbs in mismatched pots. Adam still fixed things around the house himself. Still packed Lily's lunch. Still walked her to school when he could. The difference was not in what they had. It was in how the world treated them and how Adam chose to respond. People recognized him sometimes. Some thanked him. Some asked questions. A few apologized. Adam accepted gratitude politely, deflected praise gently. When asked why he didn't take back his fortune fully, he answered simply, "I already spent it where it mattered." One evening, Lily came home upset. A classmate had asked if she was rich now. Lily sat at the table, swinging her legs, face thoughtful. "Am I?" she asked Adam. He considered the question seriously. "You have food," he said. "A home. Someone who listens to you." She nodded. "And I have you," she added. He smiled. "Then yes," he said. "Very." She seemed satisfied. Adam was invited to speak once, just once, at a small gathering of emergency responders and city planners. He almost said no, but Lily insisted. "You should tell them what you know," she said, "so they don't make the same mistakes." So he stood at a podium in a plain room, no cameras allowed, and spoke without notes. He spoke about instinct, about preparation, about systems that fail quietly until someone gets hurt, and about the cost of ignoring the invisible. When he finished, no one clapped right away. Then someone stood. Then another. Adam stepped down before it grew too loud. Late one night, as Lily slept, Adam took the watch from his wrist and placed it beside her bed. She stirred. "Papa?" she murmured. "I just wanted you to see it," he said softly. She blinked awake, eyes adjusting. "It's pretty," she said. "It's a reminder," he replied. "Of what?" He thought for a moment. "That time doesn't make us important," he said. "What we do with it does." She smiled sleepily and reached out, touching the cracked glass with one finger. "Then you used it right," she said. Adam felt something loosen in his chest. Months passed. The city changed in small ways. A shelter opened sooner than planned. A safety regulation was rewritten. A maintenance report was actually acted on. Adam never took credit. He didn't need to. He could see the difference in quieter ways. Fewer sirens at night, fewer names whispered in fear. Purpose had returned to him not as ambition, but as alignment. On the anniversary of the alley rescue, Adam and Lily walked past the place where it had happened. The gate was gone now. Replaced. Reinforced. Painted bright yellow. Lily stopped. "That's where it started," she said. Adam nodded. "I was scared," she admitted. "So was I," he said. She looked up. "But we didn't run." "No," he agreed. "We didn't." They stood there for a moment longer, then continued on their way. No one noticed, and that felt right. That night, Adam wrote a single sentence in a notebook he rarely used. Purpose is not found by being seen, but by showing up when it's hardest. He closed the book, turned off the light, and slept deeply. Morning arrived soft and deliberate, like the city itself had taken a deep breath. Sunlight filtered through the thin curtains of Adam and Lily's apartment, spilling gold across the floor and warming the edges of the small living room. The smell of toast and coffee drifted faintly from the kitchenette. Outside, the city hummed gently, buses gliding over wet streets, birds daring to chirp over distant traffic, windows opening to let in fresh air. For Adam, mornings had become moments of rare stillness, a pause between chaos and duty, between memory and purpose. For years, he had run from recognition, from expectation, from the past that refused to stay buried. Now he sat quietly at the small table, watching Lily tie her shoelaces, carefully adjusting the straps as she prepared for school. "Papa," she said softly, glancing up at him, "will today be busy?" Adam shook his head. "Not too busy," he replied, trying to infuse the answer with warmth. "But we'll do something important, just like always." She smiled, a little yawn tugging at the corner of her mouth, and kissed the back of his hand. The gesture, so ordinary yet so meaningful, reminded Adam why he had chosen the path he had. Not for accolades, not for money, not even for gratitude, but for this small acts that built trust, safety, and love. He glanced down at the watch on his wrist, the silver face glinting in the morning light. The crack remained, a faint scar, but now it symbolized resilience, memory, and the enduring proof that courage need not be flawless to matter. The watch had survived storms, heavy metal gates, and years of hiding. Now it ticked calmly, a heartbeat aligned with theirs. Lily finished her preparations and gathered her small backpack. Adam hoisted it onto her shoulders and adjusted the straps. She looked up at him with solemn eyes, the kind that weighed more than her 8 years would suggest. "Papa," she asked, "do you think people will ever understand what it means to really help someone?" Adam thought for a moment. Outside, the streets were already alive with their usual rhythm. He could see delivery trucks making their way down narrow alleys, neighbors greeting one another, and children chasing one another with the kind of reckless abandon adults often forgot. "Some will," he said slowly, "but most, they only see the surface. That's okay. What matters is that we know what we did and why." She nodded, seeming satisfied, yet Adam sensed the question lingered, the kind of question that children asked not to receive answers, but to spark reflection. Later, as they walked down familiar streets toward Lily's school, Adam allowed himself to notice the details he had long ignored. The way sunlight bounced off brick facades, the scent of fresh-baked bread from a corner bakery, the soft trill of water dripping from fire escapes after an overnight sprinkle. These moments, quiet and almost imperceptible, had always existed. He had only never paused to see them. A few people glanced at him. Some recognized him. Some didn't. No one stopped to demand explanation, to question, to judge. The city seemed to have accepted a new narrative, that of a man who acted quietly, yet whose courage had ripple effects beyond the spotlight. Adam walked alongside Lily, letting her skip ahead a few steps before gently pulling her back with a finger to her shoulder. "You don't have to rush," he said, "even when others are." Lily's laugh, light and airy, filled the space between buildings like a musical echo. "You sound like a wise old owl," she teased. "Maybe," Adam said with a smile, "but owls see the world better when they're quiet." She nodded solemnly, but her grin betrayed her amusement. After school, Adam and Lily returned to their apartment. The day unfolded with small, ordinary rituals. Soup simmering on the stove, homework spread across the table, the cat brushing against their ankles in need of attention. Yet these moments, so seemingly mundane, carried a quiet majesty. Adam had discovered that heroism was not in headlines, not in fame, not in recognition, but in consistency, integrity, and presence. He watched Lily carefully as she colored, her strokes precise yet imaginative. Her drawings, filled with colors, shapes, and figures, often depicted rescue scenes, safety, and bravery. He realized that, through her innocence, she had learned courage and compassion, not from stories of wealth or power, but from the small, persistent ways he lived his values daily. At one point, Lily looked up from her paper. "Papa, do you think the man I saw in the video remembered me?" Adam's eyes softened. "I think he did, and I think he'll always be grateful for your voice. You made the call. You chose to act. That matters more than anyone will ever know." She beamed at him, her tiny face radiant. "Then I'm a hero too?" Adam shook his head, smiling warmly. "You're brave, Lily. That's enough." Evenings brought reflection. Adam often sat by the window, the watch glinting in the lamplight. He thought about the alley, the collapsing gate, the volunteer at the street fair. He thought about the scrutiny, the viral videos, the questions, and the whispers. But none of it weighed on him anymore. He understood something profoundly simple. The world would always have opinions, assumptions, and judgments. But truth, the quiet, unshakable truth of one's actions, was immune to noise. Integrity, love, courage, and humility. These things could not be fabricated, nor could they be stolen. They could only be lived. And Adam had lived them. On a particularly soft morning, Adam took Lily to the rebuilt alley where it had all begun. The gate was gone, replaced with a solid steel frame painted in bright yellow. Rainwater pooled gently along its edges, reflecting sunlight and sky. Lily stood at the edge, gazing at the spot where she had made the call, where her father had lifted the weight that could have killed a man. "I remember this," she said quietly. "It feels smaller now." Adam knelt beside her, pointing to a small engraving in the corner of the frame. A date, a tiny mark, a reminder. "Some things change," he said, "but some things, they stay to remind us." She nodded, understanding more than he expected. "Like courage," she said. "Exactly," Adam whispered. Back at home, they settled into their evening routine. Dinner finished, dishes stacked, homework tucked away. Adam pulled out the notebook he had begun months ago. He wrote a few lines, thinking about the lessons learned, the people saved, the life quietly reclaimed. "True heroes live quietly among us," he wrote. "Not for recognition, not for wealth, not for applause. For the moments when someone needs help, and we choose to act." Lily peeked over his shoulder. "I like that," she said. Adam smiled, closing the notebook. "Then we'll live by it," he said softly. Night fell. The city outside grew hushed, only the distant hum of traffic and occasional siren punctuating the darkness. Adam sat by the window, watching lights blink across the skyline. Lily slept peacefully, the soft rise and fall of her chest a rhythm he had learned to read like music. The watch ticked steadily, its cracked face reflecting a life lived fully, scars and all. Adam placed it carefully beside her bed, a reminder that courage, love, and integrity transcended time, status, and circumstance. As he finally lay down, a soft thought echoed through his mind. He never asked to be a hero, but destiny had other plans. And for the first time in years, Adam Hale allowed himself to truly rest, knowing the world had glimpsed. Not the man with millions, nor the viral videos, nor the scrutiny, but the quiet heart of someone who chose to act when it mattered most. In that stillness, the lesson of the alley, the rescue, and the watch settled firmly. True heroes live quietly among us, and in their quiet presence, the world was a little safer, a little kinder, and infinitely more human.